Get gnomed on, loser! We're building Anim Pakal. This 3-drop in Boros colors came out in the Caverns of Ixalan, and it loves gnomes, and it makes them, whenever we attack with a non-gnome creature, we get to put a +1/+1 counter on Anim, and then we make that many attacking 1/1 artifact creature gnomes. So when we take a closer eye to the Anim's trigger, we realize that we care about artifact creature tokens, we care about attacking with not gnome creatures, and we care about +1/+1 counters because that's what facilitates the amount of gnomes that Anim is going to make. Whenever I start building a commander deck, I start with what I refer to as vegetables. These are things like removal, ramp, and card advantage that you need your deck to have in order for your deck just to function. And I always start with what I consider the least fun, which for me is removal. And I don't want to play a deck if I don't have at least one board wipe. And the board wipe I'm picking for this deck is an Hour of Reckoning. This is a 7-drop little sorcery that destroys all creatures. You can help get your creatures to cast it with Convoke, but it destroys all non-token creatures. And most of the time, the threats we're going to be facing are going to be non-token creatures, which will leave all our little gnomes on the battlefield so that hopefully we can kill them on the following turn, or maybe we're using the board wipe to open up and remove their blockers. And because we're in white, we're of course going to run a Swords to Plowshares and a Path to Exile because they're single mana, mono white, hard removal exile effects, and we're not going to not run them. They're each less than $1, and they're some of the best removal spells in Commander, period. Moving on to card advantage effects, I, as a casual Commander player, love Humble Defector. Humble Defector is a little 2-drop that you can tap and activate as a sorcery to draw 2 cards and hand it off to your opponents to let them untap with it and then draw themselves some cards. I love moving this thing around the table. If someone's not hitting their land drops, you can slide them a little Humble Defector, hopefully they get a land drop and they can get involved in the game. I love Humble Defector in casual situations, and for those reasons, I also really enjoy a Yes Man. I think Yes Man is good enough to be his own commander. He's like a little white Humble Defector, except when you activate him, you put a quest counter on him, and when he leaves the battlefield, us, his owner, are going to make a bunch of little 1/1 soldier creature tokens. I love these things. I find them super fun in Commander because you're able to interact with other players and maybe make some deals. Highly recommend a Humble Defector and also this Yes Man. Staff of the Storyteller is a little 2-drop mono white artifact that came out in All Will Be One's Rebel precon. This thing's a lot of fun. When it enters, you make yourself a little 1/1 flying blocking creature token. It also says that whenever you make yourself a creature token, you get to put a story counter on the staff. You can also activate the staff for a single white mana to draw a card by removing a counter from the staff. I enjoy the staff in this deck. We're doing nothing but making a bunch of little gnome creature tokens and railgunning our opponents. This thing's going to get counters. It's going to help us draw maybe 1 extra card per turn. And in a Boros deck, that's all we really need. I really enjoy the Staff of the Storyteller, especially in token decks, which is where it functions best. Enduring Innocence is the cutest little sheep glimmer from the Duskmourn expansion. This thing's interesting because even if it dies, it's going to come back to the battlefield as a non-creature enchantment. And it says that whenever we have a creature enter the battlefield with power 2 or less, we get to draw a card, but only once per turn because we're playing fair, because we're playing white. I enjoy myself with Enduring Innocence. I like that it can survive a board wipe and come back as a non-creature version of itself, which is harder to remove than the creature version. And a lot like the Staff of the Storyteller, it does slow, incremental little bits of card advantage because, again, we're in white. We can't be allowed to draw more than 1 card per turn. Unless we're playing the best possible little bit of card advantage we can in a 1/1 token deck, which is Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp keeps sitting around $10 because if your deck makes 1/1s, you're going to draw all the cards you need to win an entire game off the Skull Clamp. You put it down for 1, you clamp a 1/1, killing it with the Skull Clamp and drawing 2 cards off of it. That's 2 cards for 2 mana. And the more you keep equipping and clamping your guys, you're just going to keep drawing more and more cards. Skull Clamp cannot be understated how good it is in a deck that has ready access to 1/1 tokens to clamp. Moving on to ramp, we're going to take a look at the Scholar of New Horizons. This mono white 2-drop enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter, and we can activate it to remove a counter from a permanent we control, and then we can search our library for a plains, put it on the battlefield if someone has more lands than us, but if we have the most lands, we're going to put that land in our hand. It's a good time, it helps us consistently hit our land drops, or ramp if we're already losing, and it comes out on turn 2. We can go into turn 3 with Anim Pakal, and this thing can attack on turn 3 to get that Anim Pakal trigger. Along the same lines as this, I really also enjoy an Ornithopter of Paradise. This 2-drop little colorless dork, taps for a mana of any color, can be a flying blocker, and like the Scholar of New Horizons, you can get it out on turn 2, meaning that you can attack with it on turn 3 once you put your commander on the board, making some gnomes early game. Highly recommend these little 2-drops that can come out early game, help you get those attack triggers with Anim Pakal, and also give you a little bit of ramp. Next for ramp, we have 2 altars. We have a Phyrexian altar that we can sacrifice gnomes to for colored mana, and we have an Ashdod altar that we can sacrifice gnomes to for colorless mana. I really enjoy the altars in this deck, even though the Phyrexian one can be pricey. But allowing yourself to sacrifice your gnomes at instant speed for pretty much all the mana you're going to need to interact on other people's feels really good. It's really liberating to be able to make all that mana at instant speed for the sacrifice of just a few gnomes. Highly recommend the altars. And the last notable include I have for ramp for you guys is this Aetheric Amplifier that came out in one of the Aether Drift precons. This thing is a 3-drop rock that can tap for 1 mana of any color, which is so boring, but you can activate this thing for 4 mana as a sorcery, and you can double up the number of +1/+1 counters on Anim Pakal. That feels really spicy to me. Oftentimes, if you can get 3 or 4 counters on Anim Pakal and then double them, you're gonna have a lethal attack trigger once you get around 8 or 7 counters on Anim Pakal. It doesn't take a lot in this deck. Alright, with the vegetables out of the way, we can finally get on to why we're playing Anim Pakal. And for me, it's gonna be those +1/+1 counters to make as many gnomes as possible. And a new and fun way I found in Aether Drift to do this is this here Bulwark Arcs. This thing, whenever you attack with a wall saddle, can put a +1/+1 counter somewhere, and you can sacrifice it at instant speed to give your creatures with counters on them indestructible and also hexproof. This thing is super fun. Also, it's a 2-drop creature, so again, you can cast it the turn before Anim Pakal comes out and attack with it on turn 3 once your commander's on the battlefield. Also, its interaction and can help protect Anim Pakal. 10 out of 10. Also, it's got this funky art. Then we have Noble Heritage from the Baldur's Gate expansion. And this background enchantment says that commander creatures you control have, when this creature enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, each player may put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature they control, and for each opponent who does, we gain protection from that player. Meaning that we can't be targeted, dealt damage, or enchanted by anything controlled by that player. And we're going to be putting +1/+1 counters on Anim Pakal. And again, because this thing is a 2 CMC enchantment, it can enter the turn before Anim Pakal. And then once Anim Pakal enters a single trigger, it's going to put 2 +1/+1 counters on your Anim Pakal. It's so good. It's also gonna help your opponents, so it's interactive. It can help them put +1/+1 counters on their creatures, and it'll give us protection from them for a turn. It's so good. Highly recommend Noble Heritage. Next, we have Rosy Cotton of South Lane. And Rosy Cotton of South Lane, paired with Anim Pakal, is a railgun, because whenever a gnome enters, Rosy Cotton's going to put a +1/+1 counter on Anim Pakal. So we're going to attack with her, it's going to put more counters on her, and then on the following turn, it's almost like we're doubling up each turn that Rosy Cotton's on the battlefield. It's going to put an insane amount of counters on Anim Pakal, and it's going to make her lethal so fast. I initially kind of discounted Rosy Cotton when she got spoiled, and then when I opened like 10 of her from the Lord of the Rings packs, she didn't seem that impactful for me, but in Anim Pakal, she's probably one of the best creatures in the entire deck, and oftentimes if you have her, you don't need any other +1/+1 counter support. Highly recommend a Rosy Cotton in your Anim Pakal deck. A budget little white +1/+1 counter card is the Triumph of Gerard. This is a 3-step saga, and the first 2 steps say that you get to put a +1/+1 counter on the creature you control with the greatest power, and for us, that's most definitely going to be Anim Pakal. But the last step gives Anim Pakal some meaningful keywords in the form of flying, first strike, lifelink until end of turn. So, once Anim Pakal gets those buffs, we can just swing her in with the flying and lifelink, maybe gain ourselves a little life, turn it into a little bit of Voltron Strike, but mostly we're running Gerard's Triumph for those +1/+1 counters and that incremental growth. Lysel Vlaka's Champion is a 3-drop legendary from the Baldur's Gate expansion, and she will help us put more counters on Anim Pakal, because she says if we would put 1 or more counters on a permanent we control, we get to put that many +1. It's a good time. It's going to make Anim Pakal more threatening, more faster. And along those lines, we're also running Machias. This thing is a white and an X spell. It enters with that many +1/+1 counters, and then we can activate it to remove a +1/+1 counter from Machias and put a +1/+1 counter on Anim Pakal. He's great. He gets a bunch of counters. He helps us move them onto Anim Pakal, making her make more gnomes more fast. Alright, so the +1/+1 counters are how we're going to make a ton of gnomes. But we're not just going to kill them with combat damage. There's this 2-drop little mono red enchantment called Impact Tremors that says whenever we have a creature enter the battlefield, we get to deal 1 damage to each of our opponents. And this effect has been printed to death. Reckless Fireweaver is a little common that was printed in Kaladesh that says whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, we get to deal 1 damage to each of our opponents. And Anim Pakal makes gnomes that are artifacts, so Reckless Fireweaver is just another form of Impact Tremors in this deck. And another way we're kind of make a wucky little Impact Tremors is with this Glaring Flesh Raker. This thing came out in Modern Horizons 3, and it does an Impact Tremors-like effect whenever we have a colorless creature enter, and our gnomes are colorless. We also got a War Leader's Call from the Murders at Karlov Manor expansion. This thing is just going to give our gnomes +1/+1, and also it's Impact Tremors for 3 mana and borrows colors. We also got a Molten Gatekeeper in Modern Horizons 3. This is a common little artifact creature golem, not a gnome. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, this thing deals 1 damage to each opponent. We got an Agate Instigator. This is an Impact Tremors on a little 2-drop mono red lizard creature, but it's got Offspring. So if we want to pay a total of 4 mana, we can get 2 Impact Tremors, and they're both on little creatures. Next, we have a General Crete. This is an uncommon Goblin Commander that came out in the most recent Jumpstart set, and they printed Impact Tremors on a Goblin Commander, so of course we're gonna run it. Alright, with the Impact Tremors of it all out of the way, we can get on to some good old conventional combat damage. And one of the ways I enjoy doing this is with the Securitron Squadron. This thing, again, it's a little 2-drop robot, not a gnome, meaning that we can get it out early game, and it says that whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Our gnomes are creature tokens, but notable about the Securitron Squadron is it has Squad 3. So if we pay 5 mana, we're getting 2 of them. If we pay 8 mana, we're getting 3 of them. And if we pay a total of 11 mana, we're gonna get 4 of these Securitron Squadrons. And whenever Anim triggers and makes those gnomes are gonna enter with that many +1/+1 counters. It's a good time, it's cheap, it's from the Fallout set. Another way we can buff our little artifact creatures is with the Illustrious Wanderglyph. This thing came out in the same set as Anim Pakal. It's almost like it's made for it. It says other artifact creatures you control have +2/+2 as long as you have the City's Blessing. And at the beginning of each upkeep, not just our upkeep, counts on your opponents too. The Illustrious Wanderglyph will make us a little 1/1 gnome creature token. This thing's a good time, it's a 5-drop. It itself is an artifact creature, it's a golem, not a gnome, meaning that we can attack with it to get the Anim Pakal trigger. Highly recommend the Illustrious Wanderglyph. Inspiring Leader is another background enchantment from the Baldur's Gate expansion, and this thing gives your commander the ability to say that your creature tokens just get +2/+2. This is going to triple the amount of damage your gnomes make on output because they do enter tapped and attacking. Next, we got a 3-drop little mono white enchantment called Tempered Steel. This thing is very simple, and it just says that artifact creatures you control get +2/+2. Alright, this thing's a little bit like the Securitron Squadron, and it's also another Universes Beyond card. We have the Ultramarines Honor Guard from the Warhammer 40k set. This thing says that other creatures you control get +1/+1, except that this 4-drop has Squad 2. So if you pay 6 mana into this thing, you're going to get 2 of them. You pay 8, you get 3. You pay 10, you get 4, and then your creatures get +4/+4. It's a good time. Salvation Engine is a 5-drop little vehicle from Aether Drift that says that our other artifact creatures we control get +2/+2, and whenever we get this vehicle to attack, we can take an artifact from our graveyard and put it back on the battlefield where it belongs. It's a good time. It's from the Aether Drift expansion, and it's another board-wide buff for our gnomes. In regards to board-wide buffs, one of them I do not play, but is undeniably a really good card, is Cathar's Crusade. It says that whenever a creature enters the battlefield under our control, we put a +1/+1 counter on each of our other creatures. It's really good, but I don't enjoy Cathar's Crusade because when you're shitting large amounts of gnomes, it's going to take minutes to resolve and get all those dice properly placed on all your tokens. It's a little cumbersome, it takes time, and I feel like it slows down games. I'd rather just run the +2/+2 and kill them outright than f around with all those dice. Alright guys, thank you so much for making it to the end of my silly gnome video. I really appreciate it that you made it this far. If you would like to receive a forehead kiss for your efforts, you may now put your forehead on the glass. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to get your own felt cute, kept to one land hand, might lose later t-shirt, or any of these other cute little casual commander t-shirts, please check out ggtees.co and you can use code BGM for 10% off at this family business. I'm so privileged to be affiliated with such a nice company that makes such funny shirts. Please check them out.
Like and follow for more bigger, gayer magic.
But as always, the biggest thank you goes to my patrons, whose donations help produce this joyous nonsense, and I couldn't do this without you guys. Thank you so much. You're very good boys.